Alright guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness and welcome to my ranking for the Alien and Predator franchises. Holy shit, I can't believe we're actually at the finish line for this whole series. It's been a long one, but both in actual length of time and just the amount of movies we have to review for this series to be possible. But overall, I'm really proud of how it turned out. I'm really happy with the growth that this channel has experienced while this series was ongoing. And yeah, man, I know we had a lot of bumps in the road, but damn it, we're finally here. And as is tradition, I always like to rank the movies after I'm done reviewing each and every one of them. And I gotta say, as far as difficulty with making the list itself, honestly, the top, the best ones are pretty solid in my mind. I was pretty well aware of where everything was going to go. As far as the best ones, what I had difficulty with was looking at the shit movies in both of these franchises and seeing which one I hated least. Because for how great the Alien and Predator franchises have been, genuinely, it's given me some of my favorite films. Like, in general, you take the horror genre out of it, literally just some of my favorite films of all time are within these franchises. But for all the good, there has been a lot of fucking bad. And we're going to talk all about it today. Just little brief snippets. I'm not going to go too in-depth. If you want that, I reviewed every single one of these movies and well over 30-minute reviews for each of them. So if you want to go and discuss a specific movie, go over there and comment away, or comment away here. Whatever you want to do. But without further ado, let's get into the bottom of the fucking barrel. Alright, and we kick things off with the bottom of the fucking barrel, in my opinion, and that is The Predator. Leading up to my review of this movie, I was very curious because I had watched it one time. I watched it in theaters in 2018, and I hadn't touched it until I watched it for the review. And upon my viewing, and you know, if you want my full scathing opinion on this shit fucking movie, you can go over to the Predator review and watch it there. But, goddamn, dude, I upon my viewing of, for the review, I'm never watching this movie again, unless it is paid for and someone just wants to watch me suffer. And it will be a pretty penny. Good God, there is nothing redeemable about this piece of shit. I think it has some cool ideas, you know, but those ideas are just tanked one after the other. The idea of an interspecies warfare between predators, like predator clans, is a really cool idea, and having that havoc wreaked on Earth, that's a cool fucking idea. However, when the bad predator, the only thing that makes him more of a threat than the original classic Yautja is that he's just there. He's just a bigger predator. It's fucking goofy, it's hokey, and it totally defeats the purpose of the original Yautja and just how scary that original monster was. Now we just have this big, stupid CGI thing that's supposed to be a predator. It's fucking awful, but I could talk all day about that. Everything else in this movie fails as well. I think all the characters are fucking shit. Character work, in my opinion, is not always a top priority. When it's quality and when it's really good, obviously that's going to bump up the movie a couple notches for me. But I don't live and die by it. But when every single character is just firing off quips like they're an 80s action star, and everyone and everything, every situation is treated as a joke within the context of the movie, no. Like, have your comic relief. I'm fine with comic relief, but for God's sake, for every single character to be like that, it's just too fucking much. The Predator itself, for Christ's sake, is like making jokes in this, and it's like I can't get with it, man. The editing, the overall story, all of it, there's just nothing here. There's nothing here. Yeah, man, I'm done talking about this fucking movie. Let's get into what, in my opinion, is an equally bad movie. Alright, Alien Resurrection. Now, these two, ranking this one and The Predator, I think the only reason this one kind of notched out The Predator by just a little bit was that, you know, obviously when I first watched Alien Resurrection, I fucking hated it. But The Predator came out when I was an adult, and like I was invested and I was looking forward to seeing a new Predator movie, and I got this. I've always known Resurrection was a piece of shit, and I think I've had longer to digest the fact that it's a piece of shit. So, but beyond that, I think that's the only thing, is that this one didn't hurt me as bad. That being said, there is some stuff that you can kind of maybe pull out of this. I think Brad Dourif is fun in this movie. Obviously, it's nothing to write home about, and it's nowhere near his best performance as an actor, but I do think he is fun. And speaking of which, the cast in this movie, fuck, man, you got Brad Dourif, Sigourney Weaver, Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder. It's like, holy shit, this is a stacked fucking cast. And the fact that we got this, it's like, what the fuck? This is Alien meets any generic cheesy action movie. Like, the idea and what makes the aliens scary is just completely sucked out of this movie 100%. Tone, tone is, as I mentioned with The Predator, I have a problem with the tone in that movie. The tone in this is equally bad. Maybe like a little better, but not by much. It's fucking dumb. Like, that's really all I can say about Alien Resurrection. It's fucking dumb. The direction is horrible. Obviously, the newborn is the lead offender in that, and having this gross xeno-human hybrid that looks like a fucking cock with eyeballs. Just all this shit. And I can't talk about this fucking movie anymore. Let's get into the next one. And up next, we have Alien 3. So, with this one, obviously I think it's better than Resurrection. I mean, that should be obvious. I put it where it is on the list. And you'll find a good amount of people who genuinely like Alien 3. For me, I think it was such a drastic downgrade from Aliens. And when you see where I put Aliens on my list, you'll see just how big of a downgrade I think it is. And I think that plays a huge role in the why I vehemently do not like this movie. I think the idea of a face hugger infecting a dog instead of a human this time around, and what that does to the xenomorph, or an ox, not necessarily a dog, whichever cut you watch of the movie. But for this case, we'll go with a dog, because that's the cut I view. I think that is an interesting idea, and just kind of the biological effects that has on the xenomorph in the movie. But the visual effects in this are god-awful. Much like character work, I'm not one to always harp on that. But when you're coming off of two films like Alien and Alien that have just these incredible visual effects, and you go from that to this, holy fuck, it stands out all the more. It was very distracting. I think, again, the idea, and we'll go with, that's kind of the thing that plagues some of the bad Alien movies, mainly this one. The idea and the direction, story-wise, that this one goes in, I don't really have a problem with. I think the execution is where I'm not super fond of this movie. Again, the idea of Ripley landing on a prison planet, that's the word I was looking for, and like being surrounded by all these very hostile, dangerous men, in and of itself is extremely terrifying. However, when like 90% of the people look the exact same, it's just a bunch of bald white dudes, and they're like, there's nothing distinctive about them whatsoever. There's no special character traits to any of them, besides like maybe one or two, and they're just literal cannon fodder. And the awful ending sequence where it's like a first person of the alien, and it's just, I think this movie does have things going for it, and I understand why some people like it. It's not for me, man. I couldn't get anything out of this one. So, yeah, moving on to the next. And up next, we have Alien versus Predator Requiem. So, I'll just spoil this right now. AVP is right after this one. Both of these films are pretty much I kind of lumped these two together as far as how I feel about them, and that reflects very much so in the list. Obviously, I think there have been worse entries in both franchises, as we've already gone over. But let's talk about AVPR specifically for a second. 90210 meets AVP. The characters in this one, I don't even think it's really a character situation. I think the entire setting in which the alien and predator creatures, and the predalien in this case, are placed, I don't think it works. You know, especially for xenomorphs, people were really freaking out about the idea of, oh my god, we're going to get to see aliens on Earth. You know, we've seen the Predator in modern times, so that's not anything too jarring. You know, we've seen Predator 2, where he's walking around the city and shit, killing people. There's something about seeing a xenomorph, where before, all we've gotten is really very futuristic settings that this creature has been set in. And to see a xenomorph stalking, like, in a hospital, and in a department store, and in the forest, it's very jarring. And the timeline definitely is part of that. I hate where these movies are placed, and the fact that they're basically just not canonical at all. But I don't know, there's just something very visually jarring about that. And while we're talking about visuals, you know, everyone complains about the fact that you can't fucking see anything in the nighttime scenes, and when scenes are darkly lit in this movie, they're dark. Like, you can't see a fucking thing. It's very hard. I've heard people who like this movie, which I understand if you do enjoy this movie, but I've heard people say, like, oh, you know, you gotta adjust your TV settings. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't want to go into my fucking TV settings to watch Alien vs. Predator Requiem 90210. I don't want to fucking do that. But not only the nighttime and the darkly lit scenes, when there's stuff shot in the daytime in this movie, it has a very washed out, made for TV look to it. I can't really explain it. It looks like the exposure got turned up real hard, and just all the colors are super, like, warm and vibrant, and it just looks super fucking weird. This is a very ugly movie. You know, I like the fact that they went with the R rating for this one, especially after all the outrage with the AVP movie being rated PG-13, and they literally decided to title this one Alien vs. Predator Requiem, so it could it could be called AVPR, just so people knew, you know, stupid. But but anyways, I like the fact that they put a little more blood and guts in this, but God, man, there's just something about this one that I feel like they were forcing it a little hard. I feel like there were just some scenes that they were making it overtly graphic for the pure sake of making it overtly graphic. Namely, where the predalien implants the eggs in the pregnant woman. And now I know people are like, oh, you're a prude. oh, you're sensitive, whatever the fuck you want to say. It's fucking gross. Like, I don't I don't want to see that. I'm not normally one who's very sensitive to stuff like that, but there's just something about that. It didn't, like, disturb me. It didn't, like, shake me to my core or anything like that. I wasn't offended. It just feels very tacked on. And there's a couple other scenes like that. The dialogue, people just saying fuck every other sentence, which I know I'm one to talk when it comes to that, but still. It's just, they tried really hard with the R rating, and it shows. But not only that, just the storyline and where this one picks up after AVP, and just the fact that we have all these college kids in an Alien vs. Predator movie, and it's set in, like, 2008 or whatever. It's just... Or actually, no, this was probably set directly after, so this one's set in 2004, which leads to a lot of problems with the continuity and the time and all that shit, but whatever. But yeah, man, overall, I was not impressed with this movie at all, in any way. I can understand why people like it. There's definitely some entertaining qualities, but there's not a lot going here. So, moving on to AVP. Alright, shocker, we're talking about AVP now. The big complaint I hear about this one is the PG-13 rating. And people not liking that there's not a lot of blood and guts and all that shit. And don't get me wrong, it's definitely missed. I think we could have benefited from a little more blood, because as far as the story is concerned, which is my main problem with it, not a lot going here. The setting is cool. I'll say that. I like the setting and the ancient pyramid buried under the ice in the Antarctic. I think that's a cool idea. However, this is the first time we've seen, in a movie at least, the xenomorphs on Earth. And the fact that this is taking place in 2004, when the Alien series doesn't pick up till 21 something futuristic shit, you know, like super far off into the future. The fact that they kind of just ignored that when they were making this, it just kind of feels very irresponsible in the filmmaking and the writing. It just feels very irresponsible to totally go against canonical timelines and just kind of do your own thing. I can respect it to a sense, and you want to do your own thing, but it wasn't hot for me, man. It wasn't working for me. The characters in this are nothing to write home about. You know, they're just kind of there for me. There's a couple ones that are compelling, but overall, there's just really not a lot there. And like I say, I've said probably at some point in this video already, character work is not the lifeblood of a fucking horror movie. Not necessarily. But accentuate the positives and hide the negatives. This is why I'm saying this movie could have really benefited from a little more in the gore department, because there's not a lot about these characters that I find interesting, and when it comes to their deaths, they're just kind of wet farts, you know. And for a movie series that up until this point has been predators fucking skinning dudes alive, and aliens busting out of people's chests, and people getting bitten right through their fucking head, and all this crazy shit, and then you just dumb it down to a severe degree to where we do not really get a whole lot. And even in the unrated edition, it still, I think, could have passed for a PG-13. There's just wasn't a lot going for me, man. And yeah, overall, I really don't have a lot to say about this. I know I went into more depth in the full-length review, so go ahead and watch that if you want more on this. But overall, this one ain't working for me, man. Moving on. Alright, and we are approaching the middle of the list, if we're not already there. I haven't counted these out, and I'm not going to. Alien Covenant. This one is extremely, extremely divisive. This one and the next one that I'm going to talk about. But a lot of people don't like this movie. And I hear the complaints, and I get it. I really like Alien Covenant. I think it's really cool. I think it's a great follow-up to one of my favorite Alien movies, that is Prometheus. We're obviously going to be talking about that later on. But I fucking really like Alien Covenant. I think it does a really good job of being a follow-up to Prometheus, and the fact that we get some returning characters, and we get a couple new people as well, and a good amount of them I find really compelling. Like, they actually took some time to make you give a shit about these characters. I thought that was cool. I thought that was, you know, it kind of dials back to the original Alien movies. Yeah, we don't spend 15 minutes getting their full backstory and understanding everything about them, but what we do get, I think it's really well done. I love the creatures in this movie leading up to the reveal of the origin of the xenomorph. I love the fact that we get the what the fuck are they called? Necromorphs, I think that's what they're called. They're the little white xenomorph dudes. Fucking love those guys. They're neomorphs. That's what they are. They're neomorphs. I thought those things were fucking terrifying. I love the some of the brutality in this movie, a lot of which is brought on by the neomorphs. The fact that we get that bait and switch, and that these guys are able to bust out of people any way they can, and the fact that all it really takes to be infected is just by a spore, just a little microscopic spore entering your body somehow, some way. Fucking scary. Extremely fucking scary. Really well done stuff there. And then when we get the initial reveal of the xenomorphs, I thought it was handled pretty well. I'm not a fan of that initial chestburster being puppeteered by David, and the fact that, you know, he raises his arms and the little fucking chestburster xenomorph just kind of, that was kind of stupid. But overall, I know people really don't like the idea of David being responsible for the origin of the xenomorphs. I don't mind it. I think it really plays into his whole arc between this and Prometheus. I think he's a little too much of a villain in this, if that makes any sense. Obviously, he's the villain of the movies, but they lean a little too hard into him being evil, and like he just has moments where he's, I don't know, he's an android, so I don't understand why he's going out of his way to unsettle people, and like that part I could have done without. But overall, really enjoyed this one, man, and this is where it lands on the list. Let's get into the next one. Alright, we're getting right into it, man. Prometheus. So, I remember going to go see this one in 2012, and holy shit, I can't believe this movie came out in 2012, and I can remember going to see it, and it's 2022 now. This movie came out 10 years ago. What the fuck is time? No one knows. Anyways, Prometheus I fucking really like it. I really, really like it. I've said it in the review itself. I really like that there's no traditional xenomorphs in this movie. I like the fact that this film took that risk and did something different. It's very recognizable. You can tell that this is a part of the... Obviously, Ridley Scott being a part of this definitely helps with this. But this just feels like it's part... And it feels like it's part of the Alien franchise. Especially the first two. Just the overall look and aesthetics in this movie, I think, are really well done. Again, the creature stuff in this is great. I think the engineers look fucking awesome. I really enjoy the fact that they're kind of the ones who bring about human life. And I love the fact that we explore, like, our two main characters explore. They want to know, they want answers. They want to know where they come from. They want to know who their creators are. And you bring that in with the David storyline, and we get introduced to that character here. And him being so obsessed with creation and the very dark path that would, I can't talk. The very dark path that would eventually lead him down. Fuck, man. There's so much good I can talk about this movie. Yeah, obviously it has some flaws. There's some characters in this that just were kind of there for me. It wasn't super impressed by them. The characters that are good, though, are really fucking good. So overall, I really like Prometheus. I understand why some people were a little let down by it, but I fucking really like it. So, moving on to the next one. Alright, and we have Predators. I sense a little bit of controversy coming. Maybe. I don't know. Typically when I hear people say bad things about a movie, you know, and even if it's a movie I like, I can understand criticism, and I respect criticism if it's done in a, you know, constructive format. But this is one of those ones where I hear people dog on it, and I don't get it. I genuinely don't. I had a fucking blast with Predators, man. I think it does enough to separate itself from the first two Predator movies, but it still acknowledges the series, and it doesn't sway too far from the formula. I can definitely see there's a lot of fan service in this movie, mostly in dialogue, you know, a lot of situational similarities between this one and the original Predator. You know, Adrian Brody's character kind of getting all muddied up so the Predator can't see him. And there's definitely some fan service that I think wasn't exactly necessary, but I don't let that detract from the movie overall. What we have here is a group of predators that do things a little differently, and that they will kidnap the most dangerous people in the fucking world. We're talking the cartel. We're talking mercenaries, armed soldiers, serial killers, like the worst of the worst people, dropping them on a foreign planet, on a planet that they have basically hollowed out to be a hunting preserve. And they drop these fucking people there along with several other different creatures. And they just fucking go to town and they hunt. And that's a fucking brilliant idea. And I wish people kind of gave this movie its flowers for that. It's a unique idea. Obviously, we're in a very similar setting with the jungle. But just that reveal of all these characters figuring out that, oh my god, we're not even on Earth. Just makes it totally existentially terrifying that there's very little to no hope. Even if you do kill these predators, even if you do, which they do, where are you going to go? You know, you're never getting back home. You're never going to fucking survive. You're never going to see Earth again. Fuck, man. Like, I wish more people talked about that when talking about this movie. That is fucking terrifying. Overall, I think all the characters, I like that they're all so unique. Obviously, you know, they're, again, not the most in-depth people in the world, but what we get of them, I think, is super interesting. You have the convict, who is a complete, just fucking shithead, and says some really off-color shit in this movie, but, still an interesting character. You know, you have the mercenary, played by Adrian Brody, just all these different characters. The Russian soldier, Russian soldier who has his own form of Old Painless, the Gatling gun, and I can go on all day. Danny Trejo being in this movie, which I really wish he was in it for more. He gets killed off pretty quick, but but yeah, man, overall, I think the world of this fucking movie, and I'm glad that this one is starting to get its flowers a little more, because holy shit, it deserves it. But nonetheless, moving right along to the next entry. Alright, Predator 2. This is another one that I hear a lot of people dog on, and that blows my fucking mind. I can't believe it. So, and I think a lot of my fondness for this movie is, first of all, I'm a fucking huge Danny Glover fan. I love Danny Glover. But, so getting to see him matched up against one of my favorite sci-fi creatures of all time is like a fucking win for me. But, dude, I think what initially made me fall in love with this movie, you know, growing up, I had access to Predator and Predator 2 on VHS. I almost said Predators. It's not what I was trying to say. Predator and Predator 2 on VHS. So I grew up being just as fond of Predator 2 as I was Predator. Now, obviously, I can acknowledge that there is some things about this movie that are not necessarily the best. But if you're lining this up against, like, Alien 3 or fucking AVP or something like that, or really, obviously, given where it's placed in the list, any of the movies I previously talked about, Predator 2 fucking wins, man. I love the fact that we get such a stark difference in setting between this one and the original. This Predator has chosen to go to a 1997 Los Angeles, so it is set kind of in the future. But this one has decided to go to a heat wave-ridden Los Angeles in 1997 in the middle of this fucking crazy drug war between the cartel and the voodoo gang and these cops who are barely in control of this situation. And the Predator looks at this and he's like, ooh, this is exactly what I was fucking looking for. Beautiful stuff, man. Really, really love this one. Danny Glover obviously is a great protagonist of this movie. I think he does phenomenal. All the characters that are surrounding him, Bill Paxton's character namely, I think, you know, Bill Paxton is such a charmer, and we will give him more flowers here in a little bit on the list, but Gone Too Soon, Bill Paxton was fucking incredible, and the fact that he found himself in both of these franchises kind of lends credence to the fact that he is a phenomenal performer. So I really miss Bill Paxton, but his character in this is fucking hilarious too. Yeah, man, overall, I could ramble about Predator 2 all day. I will defend this movie to the grave. I fucking adore it damn near as much as I adore the original. But with that being said, next motherfucking entry. Alright, and here we have the most recent movie to come out in the Predator franchise, Prey! Damn, dude, I really, really, really liked Prey. And I'll be honest, kind of give you a peek behind the curtain. My fiance is here right now, so I'm not gonna spoil anything too much about Prey, because she hasn't seen it yet. But, goddamn, dude. What a return to form for this franchise, man. Getting to see just a new Predator movie that is treated with love and respect, I fucking really dig. I know some people are dogging on this movie. Some big-time Predator fans are dogging on this movie. And I see their reasoning for it, and I understand why. But I think we got a fucking phenomenal entry into a phenomenal franchise. I love the fact that this is set during the time of Native America. And the fact that the protagonists in this movie are all of Native American descent. I think that is a really, really big step for film. And, you know, if someone wants to come on here and call me a fucking SJW or whatever the fuck you want to do, go fuck yourself. I don't care. I love seeing that shit. And not only that, but it was handled really, really well. I thought the idea of a Predator going up against these badass Comanche warriors, what a fucking phenomenal idea. And that lends now to the possibility of a Predator being in feudal Japan or being set during the Viking era. There's so many places that you could go with this. Me personally, I think that there is a lot more to be done with this current storyline that we are on. I would love to see a Prey 2. I would love to see how that flintlock pistol ends up getting back in the hands of the Predator eventually with Predator 2. And yeah. So, overall, man, I fucking think the world of Prey. Again, not going to go into spoilers given my company, but I fucking really like that one. And if anyone does want to see a spoilerific review, just go ahead and go watch the review. Without further ado, man, let's get into the next motherfucking entry. Alright, and it is top 3 time. These are the ones that when I initially said it, these are some of my favorite films of all time, point blank, period. You take the horror genre out of it, genuinely just some of my favorite films in general. I think these last 3 on this list are fucking masterpieces. It's very hard for me to find something wrong with them. Obviously you can, but I'm not going to do that because I fucking love these movies. But we are starting it off with Aliens, man. You know, coming off of Alien and just what a unique, distinctive, awesome sci-fi horror experience that movie is, and the direction that James Cameron takes with Aliens is a complete night and day difference, but it still shows so much love to that original movie. We've gone from very suspenseful sci-fi horror to straight up full-blown sci-fi action horror. Just a shit ton of aliens running around. Definitely a lot more action set pieces in this one, namely the final battle between the alien queen, which this film introduces, which I think is a fucking phenomenal idea. And the fact that we basically get confirmed that this is a very, the xenomorphs are a very hive-like species, and they very much function almost like bees. Just a very much so aggressive version of bees, to say the least. But fuck, man, the queen is such a cool idea. Her design is fucking beautiful. Getting that final battle between Ripley and the xenomorph queen is fucking great. Obviously, the "get away from her, you bitch" and all that stuff, it's so iconic, and then has been done to death now, parody wise, in, you know, pop culture. But again, all the Marine characters in this, I think, are just fucking incredible. Again, not a lot to them. You don't need 15 minutes with each character to fucking understand their backstory and who their parents were and yada 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 and what their religion is. You don't fucking need all that shit. Just the pure dialogue and them fucking going back and forth on each other. We'll give Bill Paxton his credit again, you know. Him going up to Vasquez and while she's doing pull-ups and she's this badass female Marine, and he comes up to her, he's like, "Do you ever get mistaken for a man?" And she goes, "No, do you?" And just little shit like that tells you so much about these characters. Fucking awesome. So when they inevitably all die at the end of the movie, there's a lot of depth there. As far as characters are concerned, I think Ripley's arc is, at this point, being handled very well. The fact that she was in that escape pod for like 200 years or whatever, and she has to cope with the fact now that her daughter, who was about to celebrate, I think, her 11th birthday, is long fucking dead. And all of her family is fucking dead. And she's just now alone, basically. It's like there's such an existentially terrifying... I don't know, it's so scary to me to think about waking up hundreds of years later and everyone you know and love is gone and have been gone for a very long time. That's fucking terrifying. And it kind of makes you think about how short life is and just all this crazy stuff that that this movie does really well. And it handles that existential terror very well. But not only that, the xenomorphs, which are just terrifying in general, also shine very bright here. I think just, yeah, I like the fact that they are now a horde, and they're just like, there's like fucking 17 of them coming for people in certain points of this movie. I could talk all day about Aliens, man. I just think it's such a great companion piece to Alien. Anytime I watch Alien, it's 9 times out of 10 I'm going to pop this one in right after. I fucking love this movie. But moving on. Alright, and now we have the original Predator. You would think it was hard for me to kind of decide which I like more, Alien or Predator. That kind of tells you that Alien is at the top spot of this list, but we will save that for when it comes. But for right now, man, Predator. Wow. I hear people dog 80s action movies a lot. No, they're all corny and cheesy, and, you know, people will really rag on movies like that. Movies like Commando and shit like that. And they'll just, oh, it's just a bunch of macho, tough guy bullshit. Which, this movie, I love how this movie was handled, because it very much so starts out as that. Obviously, you get the inclination that there is an alien presence in the movie, but it very much so starts out like a fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. It's this team of soldiers, this rescue team, who are going in to free hostages from a fucking from the guerrillas, and they're going into this jungle, and just the fact that. And a great opening action sequence, by the way. Not opening, but that scene of them just completely mowing down the gorillas, and just all the fucking amazing 80s action fucking dialogue from Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know. And not just him, Jesse Ventura also has some really good stuff. You're hit! You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed. And all that shit, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just completely gutting that dude, just throwing that fucking big hunting knife and sticking him to the wall, and you just hear him go, "Stick around." You know, it's totally, it's 80s action 101. And then right after that, all these macho, big, badass, tough guys are being completely humbled and hunted down like cattle by this predator. You know, by the original Yautja, man. Not the original in the timeline, but you know what I mean. Getting hunted down by this fucking monster, and there's nothing they can do. Not a damn thing in the world that they can do about it. And this predator is picking these guys off with ease, with fucking ease. So then at the end, when Dutch inevitably rises up and is able to topple the predator, puts over the fact of how resilient and badass that character is. I could go on all day. I think my Predator review is like an hour plus. Just because this movie is so fucking great. I hope it's not that long. I'll have to go back and check. I'm pretty sure it's not. But yeah, man. Fucking get to the choppa, baby. Predator is a fucking work of art, in my opinion. But there was only one that just barely fucking eked it out. And obviously, I think you guys know what that is, so let's not bury the lead any longer. All right, the granddaddy of them all, in my personal opinion. The oldest movie on this list, and that is Alien. It seems like forever ago that I reviewed this movie, because this was the first movie in this series that I reviewed. Goddamn. I don't know how you get better than this. As far as sci-fi horror is concerned, there is only one sci-fi horror film that I think beats this, and that is The Thing, but barely. Everything that I love about the Xenomorphs started here. The incredible design, you know, the incredible design that H.R. Giger did, and just the overall presence of the Xenomorph, to me, is just second to none. It's my favorite fucking monster design of all time, easily. Just visually a very scary looking creature, but how it is developed, how it is made. You have the face hugger that, you know, clasps onto someone's face, and then it impregnates you, and there's something very, very subtly sexually invasive about that, and the terror that you kind of go through in your mind when you think about what that experience is like, is having this little creature suffocate you. You pass out, you wake up, and then like hours later, this fucking thing rips through your chest. There is something so invasively terrifying about that concept that was originated here. I don't know how you get better than that, dude. That is raw, powerful fucking horror, and it is terrifying. The characters in this movie. I mean, this is where we get Ripley, man. This is where we get, in my opinion, next to Laurie Strode. I would definitely put Ripley on my Mount Rushmore of like female horror protagonists. God, Sigourney Weaver is fucking incredible. Obviously, when I was a little kid, I had a fucking huge crush on Sigourney Weaver. This film is to blame for that. I still do. Call me. Anyways, so, but no, the fact that, the way that these characters are set up, and you really don't know who the central protagonist is. You know, some people, I remember when I was little, when I first watched this movie, I thought it was Ash. You know, he's the captain, he's the big, powerful man. You know, he's the most not the most, I shouldn't say he's the most rational, but, or no, Dallas, not Ash, Dallas. You would think Dallas is the main protagonist of the movie. Big, strong, powerful captain. Gets taken out pretty fucking quick, and in very quick fashion. And then you're kind of just wondering, and then finally Sigourney Weaver, Ripley, steps up into that role. And looking back, you can definitely tell she is definitely the smartest of all these characters, no doubt. But getting to see her kind of fill that role and definitely step up and be the leader. I don't know how well she did because all the other people on the Nostromo ended up dying, but whatever. But yeah, man, just a great fucking performance from Sigourney Weaver. That final little act there where you think everything's good. She's on the escape pod, but then this xenomorph has kind of stowed away, and just some of the most brilliant filmmaking with how they handled that creature. And the fact that, you know, he could be somewhere in the walls and you can't even see him until he starts moving. Oh my God, it's fucking scary. Again, like any of these movies, I could fucking talk all day about this, but that original Alien movie, dude, it's the granddaddy of them all, as far as this series is concerned, and as far as a lot of horror is concerned as well. To me, this is easily, I don't remember exactly where I put it in my top 25 horror films of all time, but I obviously I know it's in the top 5, no doubt. But yeah, man, I could fucking go on for days about this phenomenal movie, phenomenal franchise for the most part. But yeah, man, overall, that is that. It's weird not doing a kill of the film section on the video. I'm still getting used to that. But yeah, man. Thank you guys for stopping by and checking out this list. We ran way longer than I thought we were going to, but hey, that's kind of just how this shit goes. Thank you all for the support. Next time on Days of Darkness, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a surprise, so be looking forward to that. And until then, man, thank you for the support. Keep watching horror and take care of each other. I butchered that outro, but anyways, have a good day.